Okay, we're now going to look at a very common problem, but something that isn't usually covered in most self-defense programs. Now, firearm self-defense. In preparing for this, I did a lot of research on real-world situations where people were able to defend themselves against a firearm. They were able to stop the guy from shooting them or from deploying. And in a lot of cases, this was done by completely untrained people. So the idea that you can't do this is just it's ridiculous. Now, at this time, my research is far from complete, but there seems to be a trend where the main thing that happens is the gunman's taken by surprise. That's really important. And unfortunately, in classroom conditions, it's difficult to produce that kind of surprise. So always be aware of that the idea that the person thinks you're compliant, they're presenting the weapon to you because they're using it to intimidate you. Taking them by surprise, being smooth and decisive appears to be far more important than what specific technique you're using. Now, when people have been killed in the middle of these disarms, it's usually, at least at this point in my research, it's not because of the guys seeing what they're doing and shooting them, and it's not because of effects of a field of fire. It appears that in most cases either the disarm goes well because they're taken by surprise, or they end up in some kind of upper body struggle with the gun and then the person's overpowered and gets realigned. That tends to be a reoccurring theme when we've been analyzing real world situations. So if you pull up the trainer here, we want to cover worst case scenarios, which again statistically they appear quite common. Now the worst thing to do, and there are actually people who advocate these kind of gun defenses, is where you simply, they're knocking the gun out of the way and they're karate chopping the guy, they're giving the guy the deadly kick or whatever, and they're not keeping control of the weapon. It seems ridiculous, but look at it. You'll see this stuff all over YouTube by all kinds of people advocating this stuff. The same I saw recently, the guys doing this kind of stuff and grabbing the guy's head and throwing him on the ground. I mean, it was laughable. His partner had to let go of the gun every time they hit the ground, otherwise he'd be laying over him with this moving around. So as long as you're following the first set of guidelines, which is to get off the line of fire, move yourself out of the line of fire, keep your head out of the field of fire, and keep control of the weapon so you can't realign it. As long as you're following those concepts, everything's going to be fine up till then. Now, you end up in a struggle with the guy. The guy puts his other hand on the weapon. Boom. Okay, whichever one you were trying to do. This now is a common problem that isn't adequately discussed by many systems. So what I want to show you is the stuff that we designed in these high stress, realistic scenarios as we can. There's all kinds of people advocating, they start beating on the arms and stuff, and there's things you can do, but hold really tight. Okay, if I use my one arm in this manner, I get a lot better leverage than trying to bust his arms off, okay? So I can go, basically I'm doing the same kind of weaving action as we did in the club defenses. So basically I can weave over and under, or I can weave under and over. And that's something that is a lot easier than getting here. So I get this far, he grabs on, I get into a struggle with the gun. Yes, I can start hitting the guy again. This looks really easy when we're standing here posing. But I'm just gonna hold on to here, and he's gonna start moving me around as hard as he can. And I'm gonna try, every time I take a step, I have to recover my balance. It's really hard to hit somebody with your legs when you're being pulled off balance. There's only people who don't train realistically, let alone have been in real weapon defense situations, come up with this idea that he's just going to stand there and let me knee him to the groin 18 times. It's not that easy. So again, when you're stuck in this situation, which is going to start to occur more and more in your training because your partner is going to realize what you're doing, you need to find easy ways or easier ways to fight his leverage. So this is the important hand. It's on the hammer, it's on the slide, and in this case, because my hand is on top, I'm going to slide it down into a push-pull motion. My hand is pushing up and my elbow's pushing down. This is a good choice. Now from here, I can probably get a leverage advantage. Okay, so that's called an arm weave. So depending how you end up, maybe I get this grip. Then he gets two hands on there. Man, oh man. I need again to try to get two hands in there and make a weaving motion. if he really knows what he's doing, if he's been trained properly, some of the most common countermeasures are to use your forearm. So for example, if he grabs a gun, this is a better way to do it. This is taught in many academies, police academies and military. I can realign by using my forearm, and it's more difficult to weave that, but it can still be done. So later you can add more sophisticated versions of how the guy's going to stop your defense. But the most common ones just seems that he gets two hands on there. So I get here, he gets two hands on there. Man! Now in this case, you know, my leverage, I got this far where I had maximum leverage. Hold on tight. It's going to be hard for him to stop me because I got that far. I got the nice grip here, and again, assuming you have a long barreled auto loader here, it gives you good leverage. But I got the front part and here. So unless he really knows how to apply leverage, it's going to be difficult to stop this. Now at this point he's pushing down, now at this point I've lost leverage on my left hand, but my right one is still pulling. So if you get that far into the disarm, it's not bad. Now other grips are more problematic. We used to use this one years ago with both hands just on the front. But grab on here. Yeah, now I've lost a lot of leverage, and I'm trying to do this motion to take it out like we were taught. Once he puts that hand on there, believe me, I'm putting everything I can in here, and I may be able to switch to that suddenly, but it's becoming dangerous. So these are things you have to pre-train. You know, your disarms aren't always going to go smooth as silk. You know, it's not always going to go that nice. So when I get this far, and I'm about to put that second hand, but I don't get it, he gets his hand on there, oh man, okay, I can probably finish like that if I have this grip. But let's assume we're back to this grip. Okay. I need to use a weaving action where I don't sit here trying to fight with the strength of his arms. So again, maybe I do this one. We have two hands there at the same second. Okay. I gotta try to fight that one off. Now in this case, I didn't weave it. Okay, all right, now this one, if his hand is on top like this, it means his palm is pointing down. The fingertips are here. So just like the principle of your wrist escapes, it's better to go up and down. See how the elbow's pushing? Boom, now I'm back here. Now if he lets you, you can momentarily cross his arms. Looks good in the movie, doesn't it? But again, a more realistic, although not as cool looking response as something like that. Okay, so the same, if you do this one, remember here. Okay, so once again, anytime you go on the outside of the weapon, which is a good idea, this gives you a lot more options to be on the outside. You still have to deal with the problem that he may get a hold of that second hand. Oh, this is very common here again. He grabs the barrel. Okay, same scenario. Instead of thinking that I'm going to be able to beat my way out of here, which I may be able to, but you need a backup plan. I'm going to weave the arms like that. And again, if I can have enough leverage here, maybe I can lever it out again, but I probably need to go back to both hands. Okay, so this simple arm weave gives you a lot of control over these two-handed grips. Now he got there before I did, so he's going to start pushing it back, and I got to go here to stop him. Now, whoever understands leverage and does it first is going to have a big advantage here. Okay, I push that away. All right, so arm weaving is a good approach. Secondary approach is to affect his grip. Okay, so sometimes, again, we use this scenario, I go here, we're back in the same battle. I may be able to attack the grip right here at the thumb. The thumb is always the weak point of the guy's grip. Okay, so these are better approaches than trying to may work, may not. Leverage is always a better approach than trying to muscle your way out. And of course, yes, we can start the guy who talked about this, but again, I just want you to understand how difficult it is. The headbutt is usually your best bet because you don't have to use your hands, you don't have to take your feet off the ground, and if he's pulling me, for example, then he's bringing me into it. If he's pushing me back, it's going to be more difficult, but there may be a sudden, so you can try to use this kind of motion. And again, I'm gonna weave it, be very, very strong. I'm gonna have a hard time here, I can't break it out, but I can then switch to there. And again, I'm not trying to do a fan, don't worry about his thumb, try to break it if you can, but I need to get this. So now we're one-on-one here for a moment. If I injure his thumb, maybe he won't be able to grip as well, and for a split second he's thinking about that, and then I can use my second hand to break that off. Now at this moment I'm not thinking about anything but hitting the guy, especially with this grip on, I couldn't fire it anyhow. And this is a hell of a lot better, especially with the spurs here of a 10-pound piece of metal clanging into his head is a much better idea than wondering, how did that firearm safety course I did 10 years ago go? How did I rack that? Okay? So that's a better approach to trying to break the grips on when you get into an upper body struggle, because that appears to be statistically what happens a lot, that there's an initial moment of aggression where you catch the guy and then boom, you're both stuck there fighting over the gun. You've got to have a, think ahead of time to be prepared for that.